if that needs to pick up or we need to stop for that, we'll do that. This evening, it looks like we do have, let's see, Mr. Dudley is here. Mr. Lindsay is here. Mr. Beaver is here. Mr. Morrison is here. Mr. Bates, Mr. Lassiter, myself, Mr. Moore, and Mr. Pennings is here. So we do have enough to, if I believe that is, 8 members, so we do have enough to continue our meeting. I believe everybody has seen the packet and the agenda. If we have a motion to approve that agenda.
Motion made.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. All in favor of approval of the agenda? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh. I was glad that did pass. We also have in our packets the minutes from the January 14th meeting. If everybody's had a chance to look at those, does anyone have any recommendations or any changes to that? And if not, do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve the minutes and a second. Any discussion on that? All in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We working on it?
He's in.
Okay.
He can hear us. I'm sorry, I'm slow.
Is he eating chips? Well, I'll let you guys keep working on that for a second. Okay, we've moved through that. We do have, that would be items 2 and 3. We have item 4 here, which is a capital projects report. And item A under that is the architect's report. I believe that, Stan, if you want to take care of that real quick.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I assume the director's with us. Mr. Hibden is not here this evening. His daughter was having a baby today, and he said he felt like that was more important for him. Unfortunately, he was not able to find out in time to get someone else from his company. The person who would normally have represented him here was out of town. So he just asked for your forgiveness, but he felt like he needed to be with his daughter. So
That's understood. I know we have the report that he would normally give that is in the packet. I guess we can't ask him any questions. Does anyone on the board have any discussion on any of that, or do we want to discuss that among ourselves?
And we can try to answer those if you have any questions.
Because I know one issue is we do have the, I guess at this point, we've got the concession stand restroom drawings. And we may jump around a little bit on this. Is that something that someone else could address of where we're at with that or any other?
I will tell you that what you see here is the floor plan and an elevation of what the concession stand would look like. There's also, I think, a site plan where it'd be located, but he has also provided us a full set of drawings, which of course he also provided Hewlett Spencer. Mr. Spencer's actually been, Mr. Hewlett's been working on that. And I think he has a report for you about cost estimates.
Okay.
And so as far as he and I went to the local building codes office, he can talk to you about that, but I think he's got everything ready that you'll need to know to move forward. So I'll turn that over to Mr. Hewlett.
Well, since we're on that, if you have something to add, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. Well, actually, where we are is if y'all were in a position that you absolutely had to know something tonight and to move ahead, then I could give you something to vote on, but we actually only got the plan back late last week, and I had a meeting with them with the SSOE on Friday. Was it Thursday or Friday? It was Friday morning, and by the time they got things back to us, I've only had 3 days to work on the plan with the numbers. So we're getting it into position where it's going to be doable based on what I heard all of y'all saying 2 weeks ago about what your levels of commitment could be or wouldn't be. But to really give you something to vote on that's firmer and better, it would be better if we waited for 2 weeks and give me time to really do some more work on it. I will tell you this, I know enough about it now to know that if y'all want it to be, it can be a go project. It's something that you can get done. We're in the process of getting commitments. We've gotten quite a few commitments on donated materials. We've got requests out on donated labor. That's a big thing, but anyway, where I am tonight is it would be better for us to wait for a couple of weeks, if that's all right, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other board members have any thoughts on that? Mr. Bates?
I guess I'd like to get the input of Mr. Breeden and also the director if he can hear me. But it was my understanding that you all were kind of wanting to, I guess, facilitate this kind of on a proactive basis, and that's why I was asked to call a special call meeting tonight. So I'm just trying to get some input. Are we still, from a timing standpoint, do we need to do something tonight or
From our perspective, we did that because we thought it needed to be expedited to be able to make the timeline of being through by May 4th in time for the tournament. I think that's the whole, if Mr. Hewlett feels like they can wait 2 weeks and still guarantee us they'll have it done by May 4th, because we're looking to them to build it. So, well, yeah, we were under the impression that we would have a number tonight and be able to approve that. So
And the answer
that's why
to
we
that-
asked for that.
And the answer to that is that while we're doing this, and I mentioned one thing, there are a lot of pieces to the puzzle, but while we're trying to get the commitments on labor, we're also going to be lining up in lieu of your approval. We're not going to start anything until y'all have approved it. But we're going to be lining things up in such a manner that if 2 weeks from now you approve it and we can move ahead, we'll be ready to mobilize immediately. There's some other things. I hate to get into too many details with you, but we've got an issue that we're dealing with the State Department. We know the solution, but right now I'll just go ahead and tell you the detail. The folks at the State Department of Environment and Conservation have given us a requirement for septic tank and overflows on this thing that would be the equivalent of a 3 or 4 bedroom house. Well, that's, for a facility that's not going to be used 6 months out of the year or something like that, and no more people that are going to be there, that's just overkill. That's another thing that I need some time to address, because that's wasted money. We know we can make the septic tank and overflow work. That's not an issue of can it work. It's just I need some time to work with the state to keep from wasting money and putting in overflow capacity that would be that big. So those are the kinds of things I'd like to work out and be able to give you some more details on.
Mr. Lassiter?
If I went out and looked at the right location and looking at the drawing, the site drawing, it appeared that there was some kind of underground service that had been buried, right in the middle of where this is going. So do you know what that is,
Yeah.
or what the plan is?
That's not
or?
a primary line. It's the primary line is on the other side of that little road from where that is. That's a line that was installed by the person who put in the lighting there at the fields, and we've already talked with him, and he's going to donate his services to move anything that needs to be moved so we can put that building there.
Okay, so that would have to be
There won't be
moved.
any cost to.
Right, but it would have to be moved,
Well,
or
that's
anticipating it would have to be moved.
That's an issue that we'll have to take up to see if we have to. There's a primary line you cannot build over, period. But those lines, there's a possibility we'll be able to do that. But those are some of the details we'll work out. Either way, there's not going to be any cost involved in it, because it's Doug Reynolds. We might as well give him a plug. He's done a lot of work for y'all, and he's a good fella, and he understands how important something like this could be to the children and the community. So he's willing to say thank you for the work you've given me, and if that needs to be moved, I'll move it for you.
Mr. Bates.
And so, Mr. Hewlett, as far as expediting this, if it's the board's decision to move forward with this project at the meeting at the end of this month, do you feel that it's reasonable to be able to do this within the time frame of trying to have this ready by the term, which is the beginning of May, or is it mid-May?
If you hadn't used the word reasonable, Mr. Bates, I could have said yes, but no, it's not reasonable. There's every reason in the world this time of year to say it's not possible to get that done. But there are a lot of reasons to say you could get it done, even if we're delayed for 2 weeks from now. And that is, first of all, you can drive right up to the site. It's not like we're out in the middle of a field and we got all these weather delays. We're getting into the time of year when we're going to have more and more warm and pretty days. We've chosen a design for the footings and the slab to be a turn-down footing, which we can form it, put the gravel in, get the plumbing roughed in, and do one pour. So, I mean, those are the kinds of things that let you expedite it, and we've got good folks that know how to expedite construction working with us in addition to ourselves, and so we believe we can do it. Now, is it reasonable to expect that? If I were using some other construction company or it was out of our control, I wouldn't feel very good about trying to tell you it could be done by May 4th. And I will tell you that, I don't want to be embarrassed, but that could happen. Some weather things could happen. That's possible, but I believe that our team can get that done, and we certainly will really put the effort in.
Mr. Lindsay.
Mr. Hewlett, when you first started, what I gathered was you said there were still some things dangling out there, that you guys still had some requests out there, and you haven't gathered all your information back in. So
Correct.
If we were to wait 2 weeks, could you? And I take it by you saying that you have an idea of what the number would be, but if you had 2 weeks, maybe you could give
be
a
a better
firm
number.
It would be a better number.
It'll be a much better number.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess to piggyback on that, not only a better number, you would have a better idea of exactly the reasonableness, I guess, of that date at that point. And that you don't feel like this 2 weeks is going to impact
No,
that?
absolutely.
Okay.
Because in addition to donations and assistance in that way, we will be scheduling. So
Okay.
it's, everybody that we're talking with knows that May 4th is the day that we want people to be able to flush a commode.
Mr. Lindsay.
Well, if you have a comment, go ahead.
Other than trying to figure out the best way to.
Well, I was just going to make a motion that we postpone this conversation to our meeting. Is our regular board meeting on the 25th? Is that 2 weeks from today? So I just make a motion that we postpone this to that board meeting on the 25th. And, of course, obviously it would come before the board without a recommendation from the committee. But if we could just postpone it and put it on the agenda for the 25th, I think that'd give Mr. Hewlett some more time to have I think a lot of the hesitation last time we talked about it was there was some uncertainty. And I think there's still a little bit, but if in 2 weeks we can get a hard number, then I think we'll be ready to vote yea or nay. So that's my motion. We postpone for 2 weeks.
Okay. We do have a motion to postpone this discussion until the full board meeting on the 27th. Is that correct? 25th, I'm sorry. 25th, and we do have a second on that. Is there any other discussion on that motion? If not, all in favor of the motion of just postponing this to the meeting on the 25th? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that did pass.
Mr. Chairman, let me just add that we apologize. During the conversations I had with Mr. Hewlett last week, he had said that he felt like they were going to be able to get this process this week. That's why we scheduled the meeting following. Even early as this morning, we had conversations, and he thought he was going to be able to bring you price, but obviously all those things haven't come together. So we apologize that we asked you to have a special call meeting. We're not going to be able to have that. But as you can understand from your conversation with him, obviously the information didn't come together for that.
Thank you, Mr. Breeden. I appreciate that, and I'm not sure how much apology. I understand we're all kind of trying to work on some tight timelines here, so I can understand that sometimes we have to have notice put out early, so this happens. But I appreciate you stepping forward, and I thank you for the information on that. Moving along here, I do have
Mr.
one
Chairman.
thing. If we could,
Mr.
oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Dudley.
I've got a question. I apologize, I wasn't at the last meeting, but at whatever price this comes back, where are the funds coming from to pay for this? Are we still asking to take it out of fund balance?
That, as far as I'm aware, that was what was discussed in the last motion, but since we don't officially have a motion, I guess, on the table right now, would still be up for discussion at that point when a motion was made. But yes, that is.
I'm not asking that a motion be made. I'm asking what is the thoughts of where these funds are coming from, and then I have another question.
Okay, from the last discussion we had at the last meeting, the discussion was centered around requesting that this come out of fund balance.
Okay, but at this point, the full board has not made a request to the commission for permission to take those funds out of fund balance, correct?
Correct.
So even if it comes back at a dream price of let me throw out $50,000. What if the full board says, no, we don't want you to take any more funds out of your fund balance? I'm concerned about the speed that we're moving at this. This tournament was scheduled without being restrooms there. It's scheduled without being a concession stand. We seem to be throwing out all of our wisdom and stuff and planning for this stuff just on a spur of a moment deal. We have portable restrooms at some of our other facilities. It's a little bit unfair to them to say, we're going to take care of Central, but you other schools are going to have to continue using your portable restrooms. Other places have built their own concession stands. We're just being unfair to all of our other schools, and I've got problems with the way all this is going. Thank you. And I do appreciate the efforts for contributions and stuff, but I just got concerned about the way it's happening.
Mr. Lindsay.
If you're okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll respond to part of that. My thinking would be that in 2 weeks, when we talk about this, that part of the motion will have to be where that money comes from. So if the board as a whole don't want to take any more money out of fund balance, if the motion says we'll take this money out of fund balance and you don't want to take it out, just vote it no. Or you make an amendment to the motion. But obviously, whatever we do, if we decide to move forward, part of that motion and part of that conversation has got to be where the money's coming from. So I think it'll all come together, in one little package that you either vote yes or no on. But
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Mr. Bates.
I think Mr. Dudley, though, he does raise an interesting question, and maybe we can get some input from Mr. Walliver on this, that even if, say, everybody's happy with the price at the end of this month and we go forward and we agree that we're going to take this out of fund balance, that still has to go before the commission to get approval before we can actually remove it from fund balance into a capital improvement fund for purposes of spending the funds. Would that hold us up then? Technically, would the project be on hold until the commission approved that? And how long is that process?
Realistically, by the time you get done with admin committee meetings and it goes through budget, or I'm not sure if we're still going to admin or not, I think we may be going directly to budget, but regardless, we have to get on their agenda and then get it to the full commission. But yeah, we're running out of fund balance, they would have to approve that.
And I think, this is something we've got to consider, I think, as a committee and then ultimately as a board, that I know we all a lot of us want to try to have this thing done in time for the tournament. But I'm kind of just wondering out loud that even under the best case scenario, because of those procedural steps that will have to be taken, is that possible even under the most ideal circumstances? And Mr. Hewlett, this may be putting you back on, if it's okay with Chair Moore, to ask Mr. Hewlett. I mean, if it's not just that you get the green light at the end of the month, but it may be we get a yellow light, and then we get the green light from the commission it may be the end of March. So you're talking about a month to try to get a project like this. In all reality, is that even doable under any circumstances?
You've heard the old saying, plan your work and work your plan. Well, when you do that, you can do things that otherwise might not seem possible. And I'll just really quickly tell you, in 1985, I was president of the Nashville Middle Tennessee Home Builders Association, and we heard that nobody had built a house in 24 hours or less. So we got with Ripley's Believe It or Not, and long story short, we spent 6 months planning it and setting it up. We did have the foundation laid and slab poured, and we went up from there in about 23 hours and some minutes from when the gun went off, and had lights sitting out there for nighttime work. But the family was there. It was a Habitat for Humanity house, and the family that was there was going to occupy it. And we started moving them in 23 hours and some odd minutes from when we started putting that house together. Drywall hung, finished, painted, had salamanders out there blowing it. It's quite an operation.
So we might be able to have Ripley's Believe It or Not out there.
Well, the fellow that was
document this project.
The fellow that was president 2 years after me didn't like me having that record, so they decided they were going to build one in less time than that. And so I worked on that one too 2 years later, and we built a 3-bedroom Habitat for Humanity house in just a little under 12 hours, 11 hours and 50-something minutes. So, and we did that all in daylight. It was, daylight savings time. Gun went off at 6 a.m. with the Ripley's people there with a camera and a clock. And before 6 p.m., we were moving the family in. So
now, you may have opened yourself up. Can we have the ribbon cutting for Central maybe by this summer?
We really could have worked through all the phases and done it this year, but it costs a lot of money to speed construction up like that. So
I appreciate it. Actually, I think this is probably some good discussion to have. I mean, I think we probably have, I guess, two options: is to come up with funding some other way, or if that would, and it's something we may need to explore, or we may need to explore internally. Is if the director, I don't know if he can still hear us. I see his non-moving picture face now. Of whether or not that's something that can be, if we do have funding for this, and again, without knowing a dollar figure, I don't know. But we may need to cover those bases if this is intended to move forward, because it sounds like, and I appreciate your optimism, but a 30-day or so project, I think, is what we're starting to look at on that. If it were to take, if we were not get this through the county commission until March, even under very good terms, sounds very difficult. Yes, sir, Mr. Pennings.
Well, I like that house building record, but I'm not so pushed for May 4th. I mean, we get it done, we get it done. As far as the county commission approving, you got the county commission chair pushing for it, so if we don't get it approved, the project just doesn't move forward. But we can move forward with our end of it, I would think.
All right. Well, on that, we did go through the motion, so we've moved past that. And if you don't mind, we are actually going to take a brief break right now for an attorney-client meeting. And if you guys could just bear with us, we'll be back shortly on that.